Hello everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Double Dog, and this time I'm back with another game review. This time it is a viewer request game review to do Ori and the Blind Forest. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Brett Hicks. He was the one that recommended I actually do a review on this game, and hands down, boy, this was quite an interesting experience with this game. So let's go ahead and get straight to the review. This game was developed by Moon Studios and published by Microsoft Studios and was originally released on March 11th of 2015 for Microsoft Windows and the Xbox One. Roughly about a year later, a definitive edition was released that contained new areas, mechanics, some new difficulty selections, and a fast travel system known as Spirit Wells that allow you to warp to previous explored areas, cutting down on a lot of the backtracking. Now, it is a 2D style platform game that focuses heavily on puzzles, and I mean heavily on the puzzles, and that was very obviously inspired by classic movies like The Lion King and The Iron Giant, with gameplay elements very similar to Rayman and Metroid, and uses an art style that looks like hand-drawn watercolor paintings. It is friggin' beautiful. Oddly enough, it looks quite similar to the graphics that's used in the newest Rayman game, which runs off the Ubisoft's UbiArt engine. So I did some investigating. I found out that this actually runs off of the Unity engine instead. That's right, the game engine that runs Assassin's Creed actually runs this. Now, the whole game is one giant map that is rendered in 1080p and runs at a stable 60 frames a second with no load times, other than when you first start up the game. Now, there are some parts where it will dip from the frames per second, but considering the amount of stuff that's going on screen at once, I don't really have a problem with it. Now, overall gameplay consists of you as playing as Ori, a light spirit, as you progress throughout your adventure and level up with experience points from killing enemies and collecting items, and you get to learn new moves allowing you to progress farther in the levels Metroidvania style. You also gain specific abilities after absorbing energy from hidden trees located throughout the game world. And early on you receive a guide named San that helps you on your quest with clues and, more importantly, gives you the ability to attack enemies. Now, the overall plot, without spoiling anything, has you pretty much, this is the rundown of it in bare bones terms, as you're sent on a grand multi-part quest to restore the dying forest by recovering the three main elements and to return balance to the land of Nibel. Or Nibel, I think that's how you pronounce it, and definitely don't want to spoil any plot points, but pretty much late on in the game you do get to play as another character for a short bit. Now, after a very touching artistic opening featuring the loss of a close friend, the game starts, and the overall main mechanics of your quest consists of gathering life cells, which as you collect them they increase your life bar, spirit light, which is experience that you get from defeating enemies and stuff like that, and you use that to gain abilities that you can select in a skill tree. And there are 30 different total skills in the skill tree. Each set of skills is set up in one of 3 trees with 10 skills in each. You also collect light shards throughout the game, and that's pretty much a way of restoring your life. And energy cells are used to soul link. Whenever you find them, you actually use them to save, and at a certain time when you're able to, if you press your button, you can actually lay down a save point using your Soul Link energy cells, and that's also where you can go into your skill tree and use your skill points that you have earned from collecting experience throughout the game to unlock new moves. Now, you also get moves throughout the game, like I said, just from reaching certain points in the game, and since it's not really heavily story driven, but it does have story aspects throughout it that keeps leading you through. Now, the game features battles that consist of kind of mashing the X button, but considering this game is very heavily puzzle focused and very difficult at some parts, it requires you to be really quick, to think on your toes, and know how to use all the abilities that you've unlocked through the game. Now, some puzzles consist of pushing and pulling blocks to reach higher areas, while most of the others consist of using your special abilities, and naturally areas are blocked until you get the correct keystones, which are pretty much like keys to open up the gates. Now, one thing I do like about this game is while you are on the map screen, it will show you how many that you actually have and how many are needed to open each door. You can also open up areas in the map when you have enough fragments to access map stones that you come across located throughout the game. Now, overall length of this game will take you anywhere from 8 to 10 hours long. It took me significantly longer because I just kept dying on it. There are some people that claim you can actually speed run through this, and I don't know how. They got to be like some major badass players, because this game really was a pain in the ass for me. Now, it only costs you less than $20 right now currently to get the definitive edition, and I believe you could actually get this for free on Xbox Live as well. Now, keep in mind, I like physical copies, so I went out and actually bought a copy of this game for less than $20. So, really, all in all, it's really a fantastic game. But now, after explaining that, now I got to get into my final thoughts of this game. Now, after a very emotional opener, it does lead you through a story that, while it's mostly puzzle-based, there are certain aspects where as you go through, you will learn the overall story. Your main bad guys, like Kuro the bird, and your other little buddies you come across, and you realize that in the end, it's a very touching story of revenge, sacrifice, and in the end, redemption. Now, all in all, this game won tons of awards, and is it worth playing? Most certainly, yes. I got to actually commend Brett on recommending this game. This game actually had me very, very sad. It's a very touching game. It really pulls on your heartstrings, and it's a very well-designed game through and through. It is downright gorgeous. The controls are fantastic, though I do believe after you start unlocking all your abilities, it is a lot to remember, and a lot they throw at you. There's some levels that are very quick, fast-paced, that you got to be on the ball. If you slip up and die, and you will die a lot, you'll pretty much start at your last checkpoint. So make sure to save often, is all I can say. But man, oh man, this was a fantastic game. It definitely deserves all the awards it won, and it does kind of set up for a sequel at the end, which they actually are working on one, and I cannot wait for the sequel. Now, some of the moves, though, I have to say, really got rather complicated, like this ball that allows you to run upside down on walls. You end up getting a feather that allows you to glide, and the one thing I've noticed is with the three main elements, once you would fix them, there would play out would be an action scene where you had to pretty much get out before you die. And those scenes are the most intense, I think, throughout the game, that requires you to know all your moves, to be on the ball. And, this story as well, even though very minimalistically told, it is fantastic. There are no good and bad guys in this. As you progress through and you realize that even these guys that you think are bad have their own reasons for doing what they're doing in this game, and it makes perfect sense, and it makes you even love the bad guys. And when you get to the end and you see what happens, it's even sadder than the beginning. It is an intense game. It is a fantastic game, and I want to thank Brett for recommending this game. This is beautiful. This is fantastic. If you have an Xbox One and you have not played this, please go out and pick it up. It is a challenging game. It is a pain in the ass game. You will be screaming at the screen a lot of times during some of these puzzles, but in the end, if you can persevere and stick with it and get through it, it will be an enjoyable experience that you will absolutely love. This was Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I want to say thank you for everyone who subscribes to my channel. I want to say thank you for everyone who watches this video. Please leave a comment below. Let me know if you played this game and what your overall thoughts of it were. And please always leave a like. Likes are great. And I've always got to say this as well. Remember, have fun, play hard, and of course, the devil is in the details. Peace out.